What is going on, everybody? This is Bandicoot with QRS Entertainment, and today I want to go over my Week 18 NFL picks. Yes, the final week of the NFL is here. I know it's a sad day, or it's a sad weekend, but we got to move on, and I'll give you my picks. But before that, I got to give you my results for the Week 17 picks. So overall, I went 11-5, which is the exact same result that I had for Week 16. Starting off, the ones that I got wrong was the Colts and the Raiders. I picked the Colts to win. They're a better team. But the Raiders, coming off the tragedy of the passing of John Madden, they squeaked out the win to honor his legacy. At least that's how I believe it is. And they got the win. Congratulations for them. It's not a hard win to imagine. They are a decent team. It's just the Colts are a little bit better. But they got the win. Good job. Now, this does have big playoff implications. We're definitely going to have to keep track of the Colts and the Raiders going into Week 18 and see how they can fare to push themselves into the playoffs and to get the best possible position for the playoffs. But we'll have to see in Week 18. Next up, we have another game that is big playoff implications, which is the Eagles and the Redskins, or Washington football team. And to my surprise, Washington lost and the Eagles win. Now, I'm under the assumption that Washington is just slightly better than the Eagles, but the Eagles got the win here, which pretty much seals the deal for them to be in the playoffs and seals the deal for the Redskins or Washington football team to be out of the playoffs. I'm not even sure if it's mathematically possible for Washington to make the playoffs now. If it is, it's a very slim chance. They have to win in Week 18, and they have to have a lot of teams lose for them for that to happen. But we'll have to see. But after that was yet another game that has big playoff implications. A lot of really good games coming down to the wire in these last couple weeks. This one was the Cowboys falling to the Cardinals. Now, I originally picked the Cowboys, but I could just as easily seen the Cardinals winning, and that's what happened in this game. I still think that the Cowboys are going to be just fine heading into the playoffs, and I think they're going to win out in the last game, but we'll have to wait and see. Both these teams are set up well for the playoffs. It all comes down to where they're going to finish and if they're going to have a bye or not. Now on to a less relevant game, in which that would be the Panthers and the Saints. The Saints are playing for the playoffs. I don't know if they'll make it. They have to beat the Eagles out for that last wild card spot. I don't know if they can, but they definitely put themselves in the position to be able to do that by beating the Panthers. I don't know why I picked the Panthers. In hindsight, I don't know what I was thinking, but hey, I picked them, so I'm going to go with it. I took the L on that one. Well-deserved L. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't like the Saints, but if they make the playoffs, good luck to them, and good job to them for fighting and not giving up on the season, especially after losing Jameis Winston. And my final loss comes from the Browns and the Steelers. I don't know why I picked the Browns. Again, just another reckless pick on my behalf. I was feeling froggy, so I picked them. But they of course let me down, and the Steelers won. Now, the Steelers still have a chance to make the playoffs. They're not going to. It would take a miracle for them to make it. But this effectively takes out the Browns from having any shot mathematically. But, hey, good on Big Ben again, I guess, and good on Najee Harris for playing lights out. We're going to have to see what happens in Week 18 if they can somehow squeak it in there for that last wild card spot. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the Week 18 and the final week of the NFL before the playoffs. Starting off the week, we have the Chiefs and the Broncos playing. Now, I can see the Broncos winning this game. I don't think the Chiefs have anything to play for. They're already locked in. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be the number one seed. But I think I'm still going to pick the Chiefs. I know the Broncos are still fighting for it, but I don't know if they can actually make the playoffs even if they win. So I think the Chiefs are actually going to beat them. So that's just my prediction. I can definitely see the Broncos winning, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs. And after that, we have the Cowboys and the Eagles. This is a really tough game to pick because, again, the Cowboys are locked in, and the Eagles are fighting for their playoff lives. Though they can still make it even if they lose, it will still be tough. They want to keep their lives in their hands. So, for that reason, I'm going to pick the Eagles. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. I'm gonna keep on picking the Cowboys, even though I picked them last week and they let me down. They are far superior than this Eagles team, and I think they're still going to be locked in to be their best for the playoffs. And I think they're going to look at this team as a playoff contender. So they're going to go ahead and put their best foot forward and beat them. I don't know why I'm going to say that, but I'm going to pick it, and hopefully they don't let me down. But if they do, I won't really feel that bad because the Eagles are really playing for something, way more than what the Cowboys are playing for. After that, we have a pretty easy matchup, the Panthers and the Bucks. I know the Bucks don't have a lot to play for, but it's the Panthers. I'm not going to pick the Panthers, so the Bucks get this win easily. After that, we do have a tough matchup between the Pats and the Dolphins. And while this matchup does hold some playoff relevance, it doesn't hold much. The Patriots are pretty much locked into that first wild card spot, and the Dolphins, it would take a miracle for them to get in, even if they do win. And I'm not going to pick against my Pats, so I'm going Pats here. Next up, we have the Steelers and Ravens. Both of them are fighting for their playoff lives. Even though it's very unlikely either one of them makes it, there's still a possibility, I presume. I don't know all the math when it comes to breaking down all the tiebreakers and stuff, but I do believe they're still both mathematically eligible for it. But if I had to say the one who's most likely to make it if they win would be the Steelers. But I'm not going to pick the Steelers. I know that they won last week, but I'm going to pick against them again. I'm going to take the Ravens. I don't know if they're a better team than the Steelers, but I think they're a tougher team than the Steelers, and I think that'll factor out in the end, and they'll get the win. But I still don't think they'll make the playoffs, unfortunately for them. Next up is the Bengals and the Browns, and I'm going to pick the Bengals. It's pretty much easy from here. The Bengals are going to be in the playoffs. The Browns aren't, but I have to go with the best team here, so Bengals. Also, shout out to me for last week for picking the Bengals over the Chiefs. A lot of people thought I was crazy for that pick. It came true. I was right. I had a feeling about it, and you have to go with your gut when you have those feelings. So, the Bengals over the Browns again. Next up is Washington and the Giants, a game that's not really relevant because both these teams are out of the playoffs. But I guess I'll go with Washington just because they're slightly better, I guess. I can see either one of them winning here. They're not horrible teams. They're not good teams. So Washington just for a pick's sake. Yet another game that's not really relevant. The Vikings and the Bears. Neither one of them are going to make the playoffs. Maybe the Vikings still have a mathematical chance. I think they might, but regardless, they're not going to make it. It would be astronomical even if they did. But who cares? Neither one of these teams have been really good this year. They've showed flashes and they had the ability, but injuries have really killed both of these teams. With that being said, I am going to pick the Vikings to get the win wrapping up the year, though I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears pulled it out just for bragging rights. Alright, next up is the Titans and the Texans. I think it's pretty safe to say that the Titans are going to win. They have much better talent. They're playoff bound. The Texans are just abysmal this year. They've got a couple of decent wins, but they're not good, and they haven't been good all year, and everyone knew that. So, no need to explain more on it, so the Titans win this game. Much of the same could be said with the Colts and the Jags. The Colts are just a far better team, playoff bound. They really do need to win this game to seal the deal for them, just to make sure there's no crazy upset and changing in seeding. I don't think, even if they lose, I don't think that they have a chance of being knocked out of the playoffs. But just in case, go ahead and get the win here and seal the deal. After that, we have Green Bay and Detroit. Green Bay's going to crush them. Detroit, hey, you got 2 wins and a tie this year. Good for you, but you've had a horrible year, and Green Bay's going to send you home, even if they sit most of their starters. After that, we have the Bills and the Jets. And even though the Jets gave the Bucs everything they could handle last week, I think the Bills are going to handle them pretty easily, and there shouldn't be any drama in that game. Now on to a surprisingly important game, which is the Saints and the Falcons. Now, I can't imagine both these teams playing as well as they did this year, especially with all the injuries and controversy surrounding them. But, hey, congratulations to them, but the only one who really has a shot of making the playoffs is the Saints. And I'm going to pick them to win. I don't think they'll still make the playoffs, but they're going to win this game. They are a better team, even though it's slightly. I can't see the Falcons winning, but the Saints have way more to play for, so that's why I'm picking them. Next up is the 49ers and the Rams, and I'm going to pick the 49ers in this game only because they have way more to fight for. The Rams are a lock, they're in the playoffs, they're comfortable, but the 49ers aren't. They're in a battle with the Eagles and with the Saints, so they can't afford to drop this game. So they need to go ahead and take it into their own hands and win this game and beat the Rams. Plus, if I'm the Rams, I'm resting most of my guys to get ready for the playoffs. So, 49ers here, I think that's a safe pick. And if they lose, they might be out of the playoffs, which might be a reason the Rams want to come in and play this game, but I just don't see that happening. Next up is the Cardinals and the Seahawks. And it would be very easy for me to say the Seahawks are going to win this game because the Cardinals have nothing to play for. They're already a lock. They're a first seed. But I'm not going to do that. Even though the Seahawks have all the talent in the world to be able to beat this team and beat them pretty easily, I think the Cardinals are going to go ahead and beat the Seahawks so they can go in the playoffs strong. They can have that confidence. Alright, last regular season game of the year. And it's a crazy one. Big playoff implications on the line for this game. Whoever wins will be in the playoffs. Whoever doesn't is out, I believe. And that is the Chargers and the Raiders. First off, before I give my pick, congratulations to the Raiders for not giving up. They've had a lot of controversy with their coach getting fired and stuff happening all over with this team. Good on them for fighting and putting themselves in a position to make the playoffs. Second, shame on the Chargers. You had everything going for you this year. You had talent all over the place, and you let it go to waste. You let all that hype from last year go to your heads. You're still a good team, though, and that is why I'm picking the Chargers. This team just has too much talent to not be in the playoffs. And with their backs against the wall, I think they're going to come out and they're going to show why they definitely deserve to be in the playoffs, and they're going to get a win. Though if they don't, they're going to get hammered in the media, and they'll absolutely deserve every bit of criticism coming their way. Because they should definitely be a playoff team, and they shouldn't be where they're at. They should be a lock. But they played their way into this position, just like the Raiders played their way into this position. Even though there's two very different circumstances, one is a little bit more optimistic, one is a little bit more gloomy. But, hey, they're both here, and just so happens it comes down to the last game of the year for both of these teams. And I kind of want the Raiders to win, just because I think it would be a good storyline. But I also want the Chargers in, because I do like the Chargers. I like Herbert, I like Allen, and I really want to see the best team win. But with that being said, it is what it is. It's out of my hands, but we'll all get to enjoy it. This is pretty much the playoffs early. A lot of these games are a playoff game that's a week before the playoffs even start. So that's something we have to look forward to and enjoy. Before I get out of here, I want to go ahead and give a rundown of what the standings are right now, heading into this Week 18. That way we can reevaluate them after the week and see who made it in and who didn't. First off, in the NFC, you have the Packers, the Rams, the Bucks, and the Cowboys. Then when it comes to the wild card, you have the Cardinals, the 49ers, and the Eagles. Now, what's interesting here is the 49ers and Eagles are both sitting at 9-7, and right outside the playoffs is the Saints sitting at 8-8. So this is coming right down to the wire, so these games are going to be fun to watch to see who can make it in and who falls out. Though, as you could tell through my predictions, I do think the 49ers and Eagles will make the playoffs. Now on to the AFC. We have the Chiefs, the Titans, the Bengals, the Bills. Starting off the wild card, you have the Pats, the Colts, and the Chargers. Now the interesting part about this is the Colts, the Chargers, and the Raiders all have the same record sitting at 9-7. And just behind them, the Steelers are at 8-7 and 1. Remember, they had that tie with Detroit earlier in the year. Just under them, you have the Ravens and the Dolphins sitting at 8-8. So there's a lot more wiggle room in the AFC than there is in the NFC. While I think the Colts and the Chargers will ultimately make the playoffs because they are the better teams, I can see a definite clear path for the Raiders, especially if they get that win. They're a lock. Also, the Steelers have a shot, and maybe even the Dolphins and the Ravens. I don't know mathematically if they're out or not. Someone let me know in the comments if I'm wrong on that. But the Steelers do have a shot if things break their way. And this is where tiebreakers throughout the year are going to come into play, especially if some of these teams get the upsets and win, and the other teams that are supposed to win lose. It's going to be really fun. I'm excited. Let me know what your picks are. Enjoy the last week of football, regular season football, I should say. It's definitely going to be a treat for us. Can't wait. Start letting me know what your predictions are for the playoffs and what your picks are for this week. Real quick before I go, I didn't realize there was a Saturday games this week, and the games were the Chiefs and the Broncos and the Cowboys and the Eagles. Obviously, this video isn't out before those games are being played. Like I said, I did have the Chiefs winning, and the Cowboys and Eagles game are still going on. I think they're tied 10-10 at the time I'm recording this. But hey, that's the way it goes sometimes. I missed it. I thought they were all on Sunday this year. But anyway, let me know what your predictions are, and have a good day. Also, one more thing. I have a quote I'd like to read, and if you can guess in the comment sections, I'll give you props, and it might be an Easter egg for my future content. The quote is as follows: "Humans cannot create anything out of nothing. Humans cannot accomplish anything without holding on to something. After all, humans are not God." Again, props to you if you know where that's from. Shout it out in the comments. You'll have a good week.